Okay, I still don't hear anybody.
I can hear Rick.
There we go. There we go. Thank you.
I can hear you guys.
Sorry, I think they're having trouble with the live cable access feed.
Oh, technology issues. You don't have those over there at the high school, do you?
Not at all. We got it all figured out.
I think I hand you. Did I hand you my copy of my administrative report? Might be down in the. That or I set it down somewhere else. I had them all done before the meeting, and I set them
County City Council for February 8th, 2021 is now in session. Roll call, please.
Council President, Mr. Arcaro,
Present?
Mr. Emery,
Here.
Mr. Gall,
Here.
Mr. Kozeski,
Here.
Mrs. Ledford,
Here.
Mrs. McVoy,
Here.
Mr. Moiseo,
Here.
City Manager, Mr. Hockaday,
Yes, here.
Finance Director, Mr. Williams,
Sure.
Law Director, Mr. Smith.
Muted. He muted?
Yeah.
Yeah. One go to Martha or
He's here.
Okay. All right, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
Of the United States of America. One nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
And moving on to approval of the meeting minutes for January 25th, 2021. Are there any alterations or corrections? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a
Arcaro,
motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Is there a second?
second.
Second by Mr. Mosio.
Mr. Arcaro,
Yes.
Mr. Emery,
Yes.
Mr. Gall,
Yes.
Mr. Kozeski,
Yes.
Mrs. Ledford,
Yes.
Mrs. McVoy,
Yes.
Mr. Moiseo.
Yes.
Okay, the meeting minutes for January 25th, 2021 have been approved. We do have an awards presentation tonight, and with us, waiting patiently in council, is our Spartan of the Month. And is it Leela or Lila? Lila. Lila Rickett. So if you come forward, please. Okay, Ms. O'Connell, if you would read the certificate of the record.
Certificate of Achievement, Spartan of the Month. The Spartan of the Month for February is Lila Rickett. Lila is a 9th grade student at Conneaut High School. Her nominating teacher, Mr. Cellini, wrote, Lila Rickett shows leadership in the classroom and a dedication to personal success. She is an active participant in both history and entrepreneurship classes. During remote learning sessions, Lila showed a tremendous amount of flexibility, even tuning into the classroom from her mother's car during a long road trip. She exhibits a tremendous amount of natural ability and unrivaled dedication. Lila exhibits those qualities that make her a representative of what it means to be a true Spartan. Signed, John J. Arcaro, Council President, Terry Moiseo, Council Member, and dated this 8th day of February.
City Council, congratulations. Would you like to say anything? Okay. I'd like to introduce who you have with you.
This is my mom, and that's my aunt's significant other, Stephen, and that's my aunt.
Okay, and we got hiding in the back.
That's Dr. Neal.
All right, congratulations again.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming up. Congratulations.
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 Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, next on our agenda is a special presentation, and we have a proclamation for Mary Burfield on her 100th birthday. So, Ms. O'Connell, if you could read the proclamation into the record, please.
A proclamation from the office of the Conneaut City Council, whereas Mary Burfield was born February 6, 1921 in the city of Conneaut and turned 100 years old on February 6, 2021. Whereas Mary was married in Conneaut, raised her family in Conneaut, worked in Conneaut, and lived in Conneaut for more than 75 years before moving to Florida after the death of her husband in 2001. Whereas in her long and productive life, Mary has weathered pandemics, wars, political upheavals, depressions, and recessions, incredible advances in transportation and technology, and the sometimes extreme weather of Northeast Ohio, including blinding blizzards, tornadoes, and flooding. Whereas Mary Burfield embodies the values and character of her hometown, Conneaut, Ohio, and has become a valuable goodwill ambassador from the town she loves and chose to raise her family. Whereas Mary Burfield has moved to warmer climates to be near her family, carrying with her warm memories of her hometown and the best wishes of our community. Therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Conneaut, Ohio, hereby recognizes Mary Burfield for attaining her 100th birthday and says love and best wishes for her great daughter of Conneaut. In witness whereof, signed by John J. Arcaro, this 8th day of February 2021.
Okay, congratulations and happy birthday. From what I understand, Mary is watching us from Florida, so.
Congratulations. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Congratulations.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Okay, moving on to citizen comments. Obviously none there. Does anybody have any citizen comments? Okay, communications.
I have none this evening.
Does council have any communications? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to reports of our administration, beginning with the city manager, Mr. Hockaday.
Thank you, Council President Arcaro. Couple quick reminders. Starting this week, as of February 8th, Ohioans 65 years or older can start receiving the vaccine. Again, a couple reminders. You can go online here at the Conneaut Health Department right at our homepage, which is conneautohio.gov, and navigate the link to sign up for that. Or you can call the health department at 440-593-3087. All vaccinations happen by appointment. Now, I want to make sure people understand we only receive so much vaccines in allocations from the Ohio Department of Health. So you could still be in some of those older classes that have been released in prior weeks, and we have not gotten around to you. Right now, we have over 1,000 people on the waiting list. That's good. We want to continue to have people sign up, and as soon as we receive vaccines, they are distributing them as rapidly as possible. So as of, I believe, the end of last week, the health department, in conjunction and collaboration with university hospitals and their community outreach nursing staff, have vaccinated approximately 1,000 folks here in Conneaut, so I applaud them. That's a little over 8%, which was higher than the state average. So they've done a nice job with that. But again, as of today, February 8th, Ohioans 65 years and older, and I know they are collaborating with the schools this week. At the end of the week, I believe on the 12th, they will be going through teaching and teaching staff. So hopefully that will enable, that to more normalize their teaching schedule. So. Really appreciate Nichelle and her team and all that they've done there, and just remind everybody to go ahead and sign up. Even if you're not 65 years or older and you would like to sign up, you can go ahead and sign up. They will not schedule you until it is age appropriate, but anybody is eligible to go sign up and get on the list. They will call you back and they will schedule a specific appointment for you. You can go to other private providers. Those lists are right on the website as to where else the vaccine is being offered within the county, including, I believe, the Giant Eagles and Drug Mart and some other providers within the county. So you can try those as well. And they each have a separate sign up protocol, but it's on our website. When I jump down. Water distribution, we've had multiple water main breaks in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, this cold weather does not help us at all. Certainly, extreme cold weather with very little snow cover is even worse. So we've had some breaks on Old Main, Old Mill, and Whitney just of last week. I just want to make sure council's aware of that as we start to chew into some of that overtime and material budgets. It's not out of hand as of yet, but as you know, we're in a very cold week this week. And for the balance of this week, and typically we may not see some problems until we start to rise out of these extremely cold temperatures coming back into warm weather. We're likely to have some more water line breaks. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. We've gone several years where it's been very quiet for us in terms of winter water line breaks, and this year just seems to be our year, so to speak. Skip Hinsman, the new distribution manager down there, has done a nice job thus far. Most of any of the boil advisories have been very limited to the immediate service area, so nothing widespread at this point. Sewer is wrapping up their conversations with the Ohio EPA in terms of our what's called our NFA, which is no feasible alternative. In other words, this is our plan to deal with some of the extenuating circumstances involving I&I flow or other non-attainment goals for NPDES. So that is our permit, our National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit. So we have a couple forthcoming conversations with the Ohio EPA regarding our NFA analysis for the wastewater treatment plant itself. And then Public Works, over the last couple of weeks, we've been very depleted in the Public Works Department for a variety of reasons. Just kind of a shortage of staff. We actually curtailed our third shift because we only had six folks available to us. So as of tomorrow night, we will reestablish that third shift, so there'll be 2 on nights, and we'll still have 6 for the days. So it was a little tight this last couple of weeks, but they managed to get by, and I appreciate Water and Sewer and their contributions to assist the Public Works Department while they're limited on staff. So, and those are all my major updates for you, unless there are any questions from council.
Any questions for the city manager?
Just real quick with Public Works, is it due to illness that they're short-staffed?
It's a variety of reasons. I don't want to comment too much because it's personnel and it's medical.
Okay.
But yeah, just a variety of reasons.
Mr. Hock, I just had one question on the vaccines. Does this count reflect the prison population?
If we did not, you mean in terms of the administration of vaccines? Unless we administered them, then no, I do not believe so.
Okay. All right, then. Okay, if there's no other questions for the city manager, move on to the finance director, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Arcaro. City manager's given me a time limit. He said I need to get through this report in 3 minutes. So, I'm going to do my best. I did email council the budgetary and bank reports if you had any questions. I know there's the analysis statement that is still not prepared yet, so as soon as I get that, I will forward that to you. I just prepared a report about income tax. I know we discussed it towards the beginning of the year, but this is a little more detailed report. I just wanted to emphasize that this is on a cash basis, not on an accrual basis. So when you get the CAFR and you look at the income tax numbers, you're probably going to see a significant difference in collections, but this is actual cash budget collections. So what I did is I gave you a graph. I always include as far back as I can go, which is 1991. From 91 to 2005, you can see it's a steady increase in income tax collections for about a 15-year period. We had the recession hit in 2008, so we had 4 or 5 years of depressed collections, and the recovery started in about 2012. We had a 7-year recovery culminating in the the record for the city in 2019 with 3.2, almost 3.3 million in income tax collections. 2020 was a bad year. We went back to the collection level that we had in around about 2006. So we went from almost 3.3 million down to 2.9 million. The next page is the actual income tax comparison, where you get a little more detail on a month-by-month and a year-by-year basis. We had a decrease from the prior year in actual collections of about $385,000. Now, I also wanted to net out the refunds, because if you look at last year, we had 104,000 in refunds. This year, we only had 46,000. So the net was about 2.8 million in collections, less the refunds. And as a percent of, excuse me, as a percent of collections, it's about 1.6% versus 3% for last year. And then if you look at our estimate, we had about a $3.2 million estimate. So we were about 311,000 off of our estimate. And then I tried to break it down towards the bottom of the page by types of collections. So what I did is I gave you business, individual, and withholding. Individual or business, primarily business profits, is about 12% of collections. Individuals about 16%, excuse me, and 3/4 is withholding. So if you look at the largest decrease that we saw by collection source, obviously it was the business profit. That was down 54%, individual 17%, and withholding down 3.4%. As far as the number of accounts go, we have business accounts decreased by 21 from the prior year. Withholding accounts actually increased slightly. And individual accounts were down about 1,000 from the prior year. I think a good majority of that is people that just have not filed, and we are pursuing those. We do the best we can. We try and use a variety of sources to track people down that have not filed, and we're in the process of dealing with those on a weekly basis. So, and then if you look at the last page, the income tax allocation just shows the distribution of how that income tax is broken down. So the 2.9 million that we collected represents taxable wages and profits of 175, almost 176 million dollars. Now in the 2019, we almost exceeded 200 million in taxable wages and profits, and I thought perhaps this year we would have, but due to the COVID crisis, that just didn't happen. And then I broke it down from the 1% and the 0.65, which is passed by ordinance, and then the summary at the bottom. So about 75% of collections goes to the general fund, or about 2.1 million. About 17, almost 18%, or 516,000 the street department. The rest is broken down between reserve, capital improvement, street lights, and recreation. So you can take a look at that. And then as far as penalties and interest go, we are using the Attorney General. We have sent quite a few accounts to the Attorney General, those that are uncollectible. We usually send out 3 to 4 letters trying to get people to respond, but oftentimes they do, but some people just don't, so they go to the Attorney General. For last year, we collected penalties and interest of $29,350. And then the final thing I wanted to cover, we were talking about the $498,000 that will be due by the city for the Route 20 paving project from the viaduct to the Kingsville line. I checked with Huntington. They quoted us 2 different rates in 2 different terms. The first one is 2.2%, which is 0.8% below the SIB loan. 10 years, we're looking at a $56,000 payment. And over the course of that 10-year period, it would be cumulative interest of $62,000. On the next page is a 2.5, but you can go a longer term. It's 0.3% more than the first for 15 years. It drops the payment from $56,000 down to $40,000 a year. The bad part of this one is the interest goes to $105,000. So you're looking at 48 to, well, almost 50,000 more in interest. If you go that route, it lowers the payment, but it increases the interest over that time period. And then I just did one for the SIB loan. It's a 3%. It's 85,000 in cumulative interest, in about a $58,000 payment. So the SIB one, I think we can eliminate that one because the Huntington rate is much better. It's just the term that you want to pick. So I just thought I'd throw that out there, and then we should probably decide what we're going to do by next
meeting.
week, or our next council meeting. So,
Yeah, we will need it for our next council
yes.
meeting.
And of course, you have a recommendation, correct?
I do. I mean, I like the lower payment, but really, I think the 2.2 is the better option. It is a lot less interest. And the other ones, like I said, it's probably 53,000 in additional interest. So,
Yeah, I would agree with that. Council have any input on regarding this?
43. Sorry.
I would agree with the 2.2.
Same. 2.2 sounds better.
All right. We'll let them know.
Okay. All right, any questions or comments for the finance director? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the law director, Mr. Smith. He's on mute.
Muted. Still muted.
Looking, there we go.
Is that better? Ha,
Yes.
look at- No report tonight, thank you.
Okay. Okay, move on to reports of our committees. Does anybody have a committee report?
I guess I could go ahead and report that we did meet this evening prior to the council meeting for the Utilities Committee. We discussed the bed and breakfast ordinance and also just discussed trash pickup issues and how to move forward with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other committee reports? Okay, liaison reports.
I'm not sure if I mentioned this at our last meeting, but we did have a joint Board of Education meeting, January 27th at 6. And we discussed any open issues, which was a lot of Mr. Hockaday updating on Chestnut paving, ODOT improvements. We did a COVID update. Any new business was discussed about graduation, which is scheduled May 29th. The rain date would be the 30th. And they're discussing prom, maybe doing prom. And the next meeting will be May 5th at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Ledford. Any other liaison reports? Okay, if not, we'll move on to our ordinances and resolutions for this evening, and we'll begin with number 8820, which is on the table. Mr. Hockaday, do you have any update?
No update.
Okay. Move on to second reading ordinance. And we have one ordinance in second reading.
An ordinance to amend section 943.07 of the Conneaut Codified Ordinances governing water department enforcement and not declaring an emergency.
Hey, Mr. Hockaday?
This is, we discussed this briefly in our Utilities Committee, and it was also introduced at the last regular council session. This has to do with some mandatory changes to our current backflow permitting process, including inspection of backflows that are refused. So in other words, they're not permitting us to do the inspection or not complying with inspection, what that process is. So this details that process for how we would gain access to determine requirements for backflow prevention on our water. as well. This will address a violation notice we received from the Ohio EPA to include these languages and processes in our code locally to resolve those issues. So not something that we're recommending that you pass by emergency and allowing it to proceed to a third reading for further consideration.
Okay. Any questions or comments on ordinance 0521? Okay, Mr. Moiseo.
Make a motion to move ordinance 0521 to third reading.
Okay, ordinance 521 has been moved to a third reading. Moving on to our first reading ordinances, beginning with 0621.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into the final agreement with ODOT for participation in project PID number 98903 and declaring it an emergency.
Okay, Mr. Hockaday.
Okay, so this is the entirety of the amount that is owed for this project, which is actually several projects. We discussed this extensively at our joint BOE meeting, and I believe we've talked about this extensively at our work session. This includes the culvert and pedestrian enhancements at Lake Road over Kelsey's Run. This includes our municipal bridge program at Centerbridge Bridge and the deck resurfacing. This includes the mill and fill urban paving portion and share, and the lion's share of the cost associated with this that we were just discussing with Mr. Williams is actually our balance of the 10% of the mill and fill portion. The mill and fill portion of the project is from the Viaduct Bridge to Parish Road, and then jumping over our full depth repair section, which is paid for exclusively with 2 small cities grants and some contribution from the state of Ohio, and then resuming at approximately Gore Road to our western boundary limit with Kingsville. That is the mill and fill portion. So typically in any mill and fill or urban paving portion, the city is responsible for 20% of the project cost and total associated with any state route. In this case, we were able to provide financial and documented records as well as field evidence to the state of Ohio of maintenance and care in the valued amount of 10% of the project, which is the maximum allowed. So we were able to save our taxpayers that same amount that we are looking to finance. So what Mr. Williams previously referred to as the $498,000 approximately. So that 10% was passed on to us, and that's recognized in this agreement here for the participation for project PID 98903. This resolution, along with our final payment of the $498,000 balance, is going to need to be furnished to ODOT no later than February 26th. This project will go for bid on March 11th and will be bound into contract at the end of March. Happy to answer any questions. So you don't necessarily have to pass it at this meeting, but we would need to pass it by the next meeting.
Okay, I do have a question. So the public knows as far as the scope of the project and what is anticipated of beginning this year.
Right now, we anticipate the culvert project on Lake Road moving forward, as well as the full depth repair section from Parish Road to Gore Road to move forward. Initially, some of the urban paving portions were going to move forward in this season. However, it looks like Dominion has some gas line betterment projects that are going to be scheduled on either side of this project and potentially in advance of the full depth repair. We're working with Dominion East Ohio Gas to get their projects out of the way. So the next 3 or 4 years of their project work is out of the way, and they will not touch this highway after that. So that's our goal, is to make sure that they don't have any gas line replacements, repairs, or otherwise cut a road that we're in the process of refurbishing. So I appreciate specifically Kyle Miller with Dominion East Ohio Gas. I appreciate his efforts to expedite these projects. So short answer is Kelsey's Run culvert project and the full depth repair. That's what's slated for now.
And of course, the gas line work.
And the gas line work that will happen from Harbor to Center, and we haven't entirely confirmed the balance that will be happening on the west side of that as well.
Okay, so the public does need to know that, need to have some patience because there is still going to be a lot of construction going on in various areas of the city. So.
Yes, and it will be one way in the full depth area from Gore to Parish Road. It'll be one way eastbound in the direction of the hospital, to make sure that any emergencies that need to make it to the hospital can do it without being rerouted. Obviously, truck routes will be signed and detoured around whatever appropriate detour for whatever type of truck it is.
We're talking late spring, late spring?
So construction is anticipated to begin on the ODOT project. I believe it's allowed to proceed in May, but final timing will be to the determination of the contractor.
Okay.
We anticipate that one way to end around October 1st of this year, the one way.
All right, any other questions or comments for the city manager on this ordinance or resolution?
Just real quick, I had a little bit of trouble hearing you, but what about the resurfacing from 20 to Amboy? Is that off then this year?
That was originally scheduled for this year.
Yeah.
Dominion in the last couple of weeks has said that they have some betterment projects in that area that would be
Okay.
in the road. So for now, we're trying to determine what, if anything, that Dominion can do to get these projects done in advance. And I would much rather see Dominion get their project work done in advance of this resurfacing than resurface it and have them cut it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just wasn't sure if that's the portion you were talking about. So, okay. Thank you.
And the other thing that I think that's helpful for people to know is the total project cost savings to the city of Conneaut. We received the Small Cities Grant in 2015, approximately $1.6 million. And then we also received an additional Small Cities Grant for another $1.6 million. And ODOT granted the city another $800,000 for the full depth repair. This is the work from Parish of Gore. So that total money, which is approximately $4 million, is just from Parish to Gore for the replacement of that section that is full depth repair. The city was able to get the 10% maintenance credit of $489,000, and then the city was also awarded a municipal bridge project for the Center Road Bridge, which will also be done in the 22 timeline for about another $389,000. So just this one project, you're looking at about $5 million in grants total from the city that would have otherwise been the responsibility of the city to furnish in cash.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, if not, is there a motion to proceed?
Mr. Arcaro, I'll make a motion to declare ordinance 0621 an emergency.
Just suspend.
Or, I'm sorry, suspend resolution 0621.
Okay, there's a motion to suspend the three reading rule on resolution 0621. Is there a second?
I'll second Angel McFloy.
Second by Ms. McVoy, thank you.
Mr. Arcaro?
Yes.
Mr. Emery?
Yes.
Mr. Gah?
Yes.
Mr. Kozeski?
Yes.
Mrs. Ledford?
Yeah,
Mrs. McVoy?
Yes.
Mr. Moiseo?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Moiseo, the three reading rule has been suspended.
I'd like to make a motion to act on resolution 06-21.
So a motion to act on resolution 0621. Is there a second?
Rick Goss seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Gah.
Mr. Arcaro?
Yes.
Mr. Emery?
Yes.
Mr. Gah?
Yes.
Mr. Kozeski?
Yes.
Mrs. Ledford?
yes,
Mrs. McVoy?
Yes.
Mr. Moisia.
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 0621 is passed. Move on to ordinance 0721.
An ordinance to reappoint Robert Marcy to the Conneaut Board of Health for a period of 5 years, beginning February 12, 2021, and ending February 11, 2026, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, Mr. Hockaday.
I should have the exact date that Mr. Marcy joined the board ready at hand, and I don't, but Bob has been just a tremendous asset to the Conneaut Health Department, and I think just about everybody in town knows Mr. Marcy. He's an excellent and contributing member of the Conneaut Board of Health. Obviously, in the middle of vaccinations for a global pandemic, I wouldn't like to see us ever make sweeping changes on boards. But I think what most people don't know is Mr. Marcy knows as much or more about the cemeteries here and in the area and the region of Conneaut than just about anybody else. He has been a wonderful steward to the public in terms of all the cemeteries and their maintenance and upkeep. And so I appreciate Mr. Marcy's willingness to continue to serve on this board and would unequivocally support him being reappointed.
Okay, I would agree. He's definitely an asset to the board and to the community. I've known him and worked with him for many years, so definitely agree with his reappointment. Any other comments or questions regarding ordinance 0721? Now, is there a motion to proceed?
Mr. Arcaro, I'd like to declare ordinance 07-21 an emergency.
There's a motion to declare ordinance 0721 an emergency. Is there a second?
Second.
Rick
Second by
Goff,
Mr.
seconds.
Mr. Arcaro?
Yes.
Mr. Emery?
Yes.
Mr. Gah?
Yes.
Mr. Kozowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Ledford?
Yes.
Mrs. McVoy?
Yes.
Mr. Moisia?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Moisio, or Mr. Kozeski, the emergency has been declared.
I'd like to waive the 3 reading rule on ordinance 07-21.
There's a motion to suspend the 3 reading rule on ordinance 0721. Is there a second?
Tammy Ledford, seconds.
Thank you, Mrs. Ledford.
Mr. Arcaro?
Yes.
Mr. Emery?
Yes.
Mr. Gah?
Yes.
Mr. Kozowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Ledford?
Yes.
Mrs. McVoy?
Yes.
Mr. Moisia?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Kozeski, the 3 reading rule has been suspended.
This time I'd like to make a motion to act on ordinance 07-21.
There's a motion to act on ordinance 0721. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Moisio.
Mr. Arcaro?
Yes.
Mr. Emery?
Yes.
Mr. Gah?
Yes.
Mr. Kozowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Ledford?
Yes.
Mrs. McVoy?
Yes.
Mr. Moisia?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 0721 has passed. Moving on to unfinished and old business. Hearing none, moving on to miscellaneous business.
I just have one thing, Mr. Arcaro. I'm going to be meeting via Zoom with our seniors tomorrow at 10 a.m. So I just put it out there. Is there anything any of you would like for me to share?
Is that like a public meeting, or do you have like a specific group?
It's the Seniors Together program at the Human Resource Center. And they've just asked me to stop by and give an update on the city and let them ask questions. So I just thought I would ask if there's anything you guys would like for me to share.
I would say, besides the vaccines, our clinics that we have, the pending hearing, public hearing for the trash update.
Okay,
Watch for that.
Tammy, I think it's important to ask to make sure that they know they can sign up, that they're able to navigate getting signed up for the vaccination. If they need some specific assistance as a group to get that enrollment, or if they're having any other trouble making appointments, getting to and from appointments for the vaccination, I'd like to know if there's any kind of barriers to them being able to access that.
will do.
Thank you.
Yes. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else for miscellaneous business? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Anybody?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
There a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Emery.
Mr. Arcaro?
Yes.
Mr. Emery?
Yes.
Mr. Gah?
Yes.
Mr. Kozowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Ledford?
Yes.
Mrs. McVoy?
Yes.
Mr. Moiseo?
Yes.
Okay, City Council for February 8th, 2021 is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Second month of February.